Hello everyone, this is John Hashmat and welcome to Physics Simply. In this video I will be solving the Specimen Paper 2 exam for 2016. So let's get started. Question 1 says which quantity is measured in Newton seconds? That would be momentum or impulse. So we have impulse in A. Question 2 says which measurement can be made using a micrometer screw gauge? It is not pressure, it can be the diameter of a wire, not a turning effect, it must be calculated, and it's not a wavelength of microwaves. You can not use a physical measuring device or equipment to measure the wavelength of microwaves, so we choose B. Question 3 says a parachutist is falling at terminal velocity without her parachute open. She now opens her parachute. What is the direction of her motion? That would be downwards. And what is the direction of her acceleration immediately after she opens the parachute? So now the air resistance is much greater than the weight. So the resultant force is upwards and the acceleration is in the direction of the resultant force. So it is also upwards. So we choose B. Question 4 says an astronaut in an orbiting spacecraft experiences a force due to gravity. This force is less than when she is on Earth's surface. Compared with being on Earth's surface, how do her mass and her weight change when she goes into orbit? So the mass does not change and the weight decreases since gravity decreases going away from the surface of the Earth. So weight decreases. So the answer here is C. Question 5 says the diagram shows an experiment to find the density of a liquid. The mass before adding the liquid was 200, after it was 250 grams. What is the density of the liquid? We divide the mass by the volume. So we divide the difference in mass, which is the mass of the liquid, 250 minus 200, by the volume of the liquid here. It is between 20 and 30, so this is 25 centimeter cubed. So this gives an answer of 2 grams per centimeter cubed, so we choose B. Question 6 says an experiment is carried out to measure the extension of a rubber band for different loads. The results are shown below. So we have at load 0, the original length is 15.2, and we have a missing length, and the extension is 2.1. Which figure is missing from the table? That would be the total length after extending 2.1 from the original value 15.2. So we just add 15.2 original length plus extension to get the new length. That would be 17.3 centimeters, so we choose B. Question 7 says the diagram shows a satellite that is moving at a uniform rate in a circular orbit around the Earth. Which statement describes the motion of this satellite? It is accelerating, yes, because its speed is changing. No, it's at constant rate. Because the velocity is changing, yes, because the direction is changing. It is not accelerating is not correct, so the answer here is B. Question 8 says which statement about an object moving in a straight line through air is correct? When it accelerates, the resultant force acting on it is 0. No, there must be a resultant force for acceleration to happen. When it moves at steady speed, the air resistance acting on it is 0. No, motion causes air resistance. When it moves at steady speed, the resultant force acting on it is 0. That is correct because resultant force 0, so acceleration 0, so we move with constant speed. When it moves, there is a resultant force acting on it, not always, so the answer here is C. Question 9 says a beam pivoted at one end has a force of 5 Newton acting vertically upwards on it as shown. The beam is in equilibrium. What is the weight of the beam? So we have the distances from the pivot, that is 2 centimeters and 5 centimeters, and this force creates an anti-clockwise moment and the weight creates a clockwise moment. If it is in equilibrium, clockwise moment must balance the anti-clockwise moments, so we say that the weight multiplied by the distance 5 is equal to the force 5 multiplied by the distance 2. So if we divide by 5 on the other side, we get an answer of 2 newtons, so we choose A. Question 10 says a car has a mass of 1000 kilograms and a momentum of 12,000 kilograms meter per second. What is the kinetic energy? We can calculate the speed, which is equal to the momentum divided by the mass. So we divide 12,000 by 1000 and we get 12 meters per second. And then we use the equation kinetic energy is equal to half mv squared to get the value of the kinetic energy. So half times the mass 12,000 multiplied by the calculated speed 12 squared. That gives an answer of 72,000 joules. So 72 kilojoules is here. So we choose C. Question 11 says which diagram shows two forces X and Y with the resultant force. So the choices A and B we have starting from the same point for X and Y. That means we need to close a parallelogram, not draw a triangle or a head to tail addition. So it's not A nor B. In C, we have the forces starting from the same position. If we close the parallelogram and we draw the diagonal and the arrows are in the directions of X and Y, so this direction is correct. So the answer is C. Question 12 says a ball is dropped onto a hard surface and bounces. It does not bounce all the way back to where it started and so has not regained all of its original gravitational potential energy. Which statement accounts for the loss of gravitational potential energy? Energy was destroyed. No, energy cannot be destroyed. The chemical energy and elastic energy of the ball have increased. Chemical, no. Internal energy of the ball and its surroundings has increased. Yes, some energy was lost as heat due to the bounce or due to the impact with the ground, so we choose D. Question 13 says the sun is the original source of energy for many of our energy resources. Which energy resource does not originate from the sun? Geothermal, yes, because it originates from the center of the planet. Hydroelectric, it depends on the sun. Waves and wind also depend on the sun, so we choose A. Question 14 says a dam across a lake is divided into two sections by a rock. Section X is longer than section Y, but the two sections are otherwise identical. The water in the lake by the dam is the same depth everywhere. The diagram shows a view from above of the lake and the dam. So the water creates a total force on each section of the dam and an average pressure on each section of the dam. Which statement is correct? The average pressure on X equals the average pressure on Y. Yes, because pressure is equal to rho GH and all these are the same depth again here. So the pressure would be the same. The average pressure on X is less. No, the total force on X equals the total force on Y. No, because force is equal to pressure multiplied by area and X had a greater area than Y. So the force would be greater on X. The total force on X is less. No, we just said it would be larger. So the answer here is A. Question 15 is about barometers and manometers, so you can skip this question for the new syllabus. It says the diagram shows a simple mercury barometer alongside a mercury manometer. The manometer contains some trapped gas. What is the pressure of the trapped gas? So first we measure the atmospheric pressure from the barometer. It is 76 centimeters of mercury. Then the difference between the atmospheric pressure and the gas pressure is from 60 to 50, that is 10. And the gas is pushing down more on the liquid, which means that the pressure of the gas is higher than the pressure of the atmosphere by 10. So the pressure of the gas should be 76 plus 10, which is 86 centimeters of mercury. So we choose D. Question 16 says very small pollen grains are suspended in a beaker of water. A bright light shines from the side. Small bright dots of light are seen through a microscope. The dots move in a rapidly changing random directions. What are the bright dots? That would be the pollen grains, not the water molecules. You cannot see water molecules using this microscope. So it is pollen grains being hit, not by other pollen grains, by water molecules. So we choose B. Question 17 says a sealed gas cylinder is left outside on a hot sunny day. What happens to the average speed of the gas molecule and the pressure of the gas in the cylinder as the temperature of the gas rises? So the speed increases because the temperature increases and the pressure also increases. So we choose D. Question 18 says the diagram shows 4 beakers A, B, C, and D. The beakers contain different amounts of the same liquid at the same temperature. The beakers are left next to each other on a laboratory bench overnight. The diagrams are all drawn to the same scale. From which beaker does the largest quantity of liquid evaporate? So we need the largest area since all other factors are the same because they are all in the same room and have the same temperature. So the one with the largest area is D. Question 19 says which line in the table shows the relative expansion of 3 states of matter from the most expansion to the least expansion? The most expansion happens in gases and the least expansion happens in solids. So the answer here is C. Question 20 is about thermometers, so you can skip this question for the new syllabus. It says the diagram shows a liquid and glass thermometer. Which two features both affect the sensitivity of thermometer? So the mass of the liquid, yes, it affects, and diameter of the liquid thread, yes. The length of the stem, no, it affects the range, not the thickness of glass bulb, so the answer here is A. Question 21 says a student wishes to calculate the specific heat capacity of copper. He has a block of copper and an electric heater. He knows the power of the heater. Which other apparatus does he need? So the specific heat capacity is equal to the energy divided by the mass and the change in temperature. And energy can be calculated as power multiplied by time. So we need time, mass, and change in temperature. So a balance is needed for the mass, yes. A stopwatch, yes, for the time. And thermometer, yes, for the change in temperature. The common answer here is A. Question 22 is about latent heat capacity, so you can skip this question also for the new syllabus. It says a mass of 0.20 kilograms of a substance is initially solid. It is heated at a steady rate of 500 watts, that's the power. The graph shows how the temperature of the substance changes with time. What is the specific latent heat of fusion of the substance? So we need the part with the constant temperature to say that there is a change in state. So this section here, which takes 200 seconds, that is the time, and we have the power. And we calculate the latent heat capacity as energy divided by the mass, or power multiplied by time, then we divide by the mass. So we have 500 multiplied by 200, and we divide by the mass 0.20 kilograms. That gives an answer of 500,000 joules per kilogram. So we choose C. Question 23 says a diagram shows some ice being used to lower the temperature of some warm water. What is the main process by which water at the bottom of the glass becomes cool? That would be convection. Cold liquid falls and hot liquid rises, or warm liquid rises. That would be C. Question 24 says the diagrams show water waves that move more slowly after passing into shallow water. Which diagram shows what happens to the waves? Since the barrier is at an inclined angle with the direction of the wave, there should be bending here, so it is not A. And the wavelength must decrease because it goes more slowly. So as speed decreases, wavelength decreases. So it is not B because wavelength here increased. So we reject B. In C, the bending happened and the wavelength actually decreased. So this is the correct answer. In D, extra wave fronts were suddenly created, which does not happen. So it is not D. Question 25 says the diagram shows a ray of monochromatic light passing through a semicircular glass block. What is the refractive index of the glass? Since the ray of light refracts on the surface or parallel to the surface, this means that this angle is the critical angle, which is 90 minus 50. That would be 40 degrees. So the critical angle is 40 degrees. And then we can use the equation that the refractive index is equal to 1 over sine the critical angle. So 1 over sine 40. That gives a value of 1.5557, so we choose the closest one, D. Question 26 says an object O is placed close to a thin converging lens. The diagram represents 3 rays from the top of O passing through the lens. Which type of image is produced? Real, diminished, enlarged, virtual, diminished, enlarged. So we need to make these rays intersect to find the image. So we extend them backwards because they do not meet on the right side. So we extend these rays backwards. They meet at this point. So since we had to extend the rays, that means this image is virtual. And these rays came from the top of the arrow. So we have the top of the arrow here. So it is larger than the image and upright and virtual. So it is not real, it is not diminished, it is virtual and enlarged. So we choose D. Question 27 says an echo sounder on a ship produces a pulse of sound. The echo is received by the echo sounder after 2 seconds. The speed of sound in seawater is 1,500 meters per second. What is the depth of the seawater below the ship? So the sound moved twice the distance downwards than upwards. So we use the speed is equal to twice the distance over the time. So we calculate the distance as speed times time over 2. So we have 1,500 times 2 seconds, then divide by 2. So the answer is 1,500 meters. So we choose B. Question 28 says a diagram shows apparatus that can be used to make a magnet. Which metal and which power supply are used to make a permanent magnet? To make a permanent magnet, we need steel, which is a hard magnetic material, and the power supply must be direct current, not alternating. So we choose D. Question 29 says a positively charged plastic rod is placed just above a thick metal plate. The metal plate rests on an insulator and is connected to the earth by a wire. A student disconnects the earth wire and then removes the positively charged rod. The experiment is repeated. This time the student removes the positively charged rod and then removes the earthing wire. If we did that, the metal plate will not be charged, so it will remain neutral. So the choice is here: when the earthing wire is removed first, the metal will be oppositely charged. So we have a positive rod, that would be a negative charge, not a positive charge. So the second sentence is correct. When the plastic rod is removed first, the metal does not become charged at all. So the answer here is B. Question 30 says the resistance of a wire depends on its length and on its cross-sectional area. A. The resistance is directly proportional to the length and directly proportional to the area, not directly proportional to area. It is directly proportional to length and inversely proportional to area. That is correct, so choose B. Question 31 says in the circuit shown, the ammeter reads 2 amperes and the voltmeter reads 12 volts. How much energy is transferred by the resistor in 10 seconds? So we can use energy is equal to VIT. We have the voltage 12 and the current 2 and the time 10 seconds. This calculates as 240 joules, so we choose C. Question 32 says the diagram shows part of an electrical circuit. The current in the 4 ohm resistor is 3 amperes. What is the current in the ammeter? So we can calculate the current in the 2 ohm resistor, but we need to find the voltage. Luckily, we have the current and resistance on the top branch. We calculate voltage as current multiplied by resistance. So we multiply 3 by 4, that gives us 12 volts. And in parallel, since we have branches here, the 2 ohm resistor is in parallel, so it also has 12 volts. So we calculate the current in the 2 ohm resistor as voltage divided by resistance. So 12 divided by 2, that gives us 6 amperes. So if 6 amperes and 3 amperes come from this ammeter, the ammeter shows the total of the 3 and 6. So 3 plus 6, that gives us 9 amperes. So we choose C. Question 33 says a circuit diagram shows a thermistor in a potential divider. A voltmeter is connected across the thermistor. The graph shows how the resistance of the thermistor changes with temperature. As temperature increases, resistance decreases. As a thermistor becomes warmer, what happens to its resistance and what happens to the reading on the voltmeter? So resistance as it gets warmer decreases according to the graph, and we should already know that. And the voltmeter was on the thermistor in a potential divider circuit. If a resistor decreases in value, its voltage also decreases. So here the answer is A. Question 34 says a circuit breaker is designed to protect a circuit which usually carries a current of 2 amperes. The time taken to break the circuit depends on the current as shown in the graph. What happens when the current in the circuit is 2 amperes and what happens when the current is 18 amperes? So when the current is 2 amperes, the circuit does not break, the time is infinite. And when the current is 18 amperes, it breaks in a very short time here. So the choices are 2 amperes, the circuit breaks. No, the circuit does not break. When the current is 18 amperes, the circuit breaks in less than 5 seconds. Yes, the very short time. So the common answer here is C. Question 35 says a solenoid is connected in series with a sensitive ammeter. The end pole of a magnet is placed next to one end of the solenoid, marked X. First, the end pole of the magnet is pushed toward X, then the magnet is pulled away from X. During both stages, the ammeter deflects. Which type of magnetic pole is induced at X during these two stages? When moving towards a coil, the induced current opposes the motion, which means it will induce a pole that will stop the magnet or try to stop the magnet. So if you're coming towards the coil with an end pole, it will repel it with another end pole, so end pole. When moving away with a north pole, it will create a south pole to attract it, so S pole when moving away. So the common answer here is B. Question 36 says the diagram shows a transformer. We have primary coil and secondary coil and an iron core. Which row describes the magnetic field in the soft iron core and the magnetic field in the secondary coil when the transformer is operating? The primary coil has an alternating current which causes a changing magnetic field, and that field cuts the secondary coil while it is also changing. So both changing fields, so the answer here is A. Question 37 says the graph shows the output of an AC generator. The coil in the generator rotates 20 times in 1 second. The speed of rotation of the coil is steadily increased. Which graph best shows how the output changes? So speed increases, that causes the voltage to increase and the time to decrease. So this with an increasing voltage, yes, but the time does not decrease. So it would be D, where the voltage peak increases and the time of one cycle keeps decreasing. Question 38 says a diagram shows a wire placed between two magnetic poles of equal strength. The current passes through the wire in the direction shown. The current causes a downward force on the wire. What is the arrangement of the magnetic poles? We need to know the direction of the magnetic field. So we have the current here is out of the page and we have the force or the motion is downwards. Using Fleming's left-hand rule, we say if the thumb is downwards with the motion and the middle finger is pointing out of the page with the direction of the current, the index finger will be pointing to the left, which means this is a north pole and this is a south pole. That is in the first choice here, so we choose A. Question 39 says a beam of gamma rays passes between two charged metal plates as shown in the diagram. How do the gamma rays pass between the two charged plates? Since gamma has no charge, it will not be deflected, so the rays are deflected, no. Deflected, no. The ray will continue in the same direction, yes. So the answer is D. Question 40 says a powder contains 400 micrograms of a radioactive isotope that emits alpha particles. The half-life of the isotope is 5 days. What mass of this isotope remains after 10 days? So 10 days, that makes two half-lives, 5 days. So the mass will be divided by 2 twice. So from 400 divided by 2, that would be 200. Divided by 2 again, that would be 100 milligrams. So the answer here is C. So this was the end of the paper. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Keep practicing and I will see you in another video.